Hi everybody, and welcome to our second LinkedIn Live. Today we're going to be talking to you about maximising SEO strategies for life sciences with founder and creative director of Arttia Creative, Belinda. Just before we start the session, I wanted to let you know that this is an informal Q&A session today. And Belinda's kindly offered to answer any questions that you might have about SEO. So please feel free to drop your questions or comments on the LinkedIn Live comment thread and we'll answer them. So first of all, I'm going to introduce you to Social Elements and also to Arttia. So these broadcasts are led by Social Elements, and we are a social media marketing agency for the life science industry. We, as well as helping life science, we also help healthcare businesses to be better heard online. We try to blend our insiders' knowledge of the sector with a strategic and analytical approach to social media marketing. We use our experience and knowledge, and we fuse this with skills, expertise, and up-to-date resources within social media marketing, both organic and paid. We're results-driven, but we focus on working with you and your team to maximise your budget whilst delivering an authentic and strategic campaign. So for our values, we're scientifically minded, but we're not just for science-based businesses. We are knowledgeable, we have a strong career background in pharma and also a strong background in marketing. So we know what we're talking about. We're also proficient in both paid for and organic social media services. We're curiosity provoking. So we're always looking for ways to do things that challenge and exceed expectations. And we're also strategic. We're thorough, observant and data driven and results orientated, but we're not boring. So I'm the founder of Social Elements. I'm Lisa. I founded the marketing agency in 2017, and we provide bespoke, strategic social media and content marketing expertise for your business. We're proud to say that we support all types of businesses, but we do have a special interest in startup biotechs and not-for-profit organisations. Some of the key services that we provide are strategic development. So together we'll develop a strategy for your marketing needs. We also offer ongoing services. So we offer organic and paid social media management retained services and also content marketing services such as blog writing, case studies and newsletters. We also provide training and consultancy support. So we go into businesses and train them directly, and we also provide consultancy advice and guidance for when you just need to upskill yourself. So as I mentioned, my name's Lisa. I'm a social media consultant with 8 years of expertise in organic social media marketing and paid advertising. My speciality is LinkedIn. And that includes organic and paid. I have a master's in medical microbiology from the University of Surrey and a love of all things scientific. I also have 20 years of postgrad experience within research and drug development. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only one. My full name's Lisa Kyriakou-Fawkes. So I'll just hand you over to Belinda now to introduce herself and also introduce Arttia Creative.
Thank you, Lisa. Hello, everybody, and thanks for taking time out to join the live feed. Really appreciate it. So, yeah, Belinda White. My background's in creative design, but also in web development, which includes making sure that those websites are visible online with SEO, and also PPC if needed. So yes, I've been designing for businesses across the UK and internationally for 30 plus years. So a lot of time in design, seen a lot of changes. which makes it exciting actually. So the design landscape, the creative landscape is ever changing, and that's what keeps it interesting. So Arttia Creative's been running for just over 16 years. During that time, we have specialised in working with life sciences, biotech, healthcare companies, creating brand identities, websites, print materials, anything they need really to gain that online visibility. So yeah, a little bit about Arttia Creative. We are a specialist agency for life sciences, biotech, healthcare. And yeah, we've been working in this field for 16 plus years, and our team is a blend of designers, developers, but also those with a scientific background. So a lot of our team have experience with it, working within life sciences on the business side as well as on the research side. And we have copywriters here that can write very medical and scientific content, but also they can write for SEO, which is important, and also writing when they've got when we've got a business goal, when we need to meet those business goals with that content. So yeah, as I say, we're an agency where we blend everything together. So every element really has to work in harmony. So you can't create a brand identity, brand story without thinking about how that's going to look on a website. Everybody's online at the moment. So the first interaction they might have with your brand is your website. So everything has to work in harmony. And also the website, it's a must-have these days, but actually it needs to work as a marketing tool. It needs to help grow the business and evolve as your business evolves as well. So they all really need to work together in harmony, rather than looking at those elements in isolation. So as an agency, providing all that creative services in one place really does streamline projects. So our clients don't have to go to a brand agency and then find a web agency and then find a digital marketing agency. We can handle all that for them. So SEO is a major part of what we do. Creating content around that's SEO optimized, that's very scientific, and but also is accessible to a wider audience as well. So that includes all sorts of scientific communications. It could be digital, but it also could be print, conference materials, etc. And we also support whatever we produce with that SEO element, so it can be found alongside PPC, email marketing. Yeah, a big part of what we do is web development. So if we're creating a brand or looking to promote a life science company, that website is very critical in terms of telling the right story and delivering what they need. So as designers, we understand user experience, user interface design, as well as making it really drive leads, investor interest for those businesses.
Okay, great. Thanks for the introduction, Belinda. So now we'll move over to Q&A, which is the crux of today's LinkedIn Live. So hopefully we've received some questions, which should be coming through. Let's just wait a minute. Okay, so we've got our first question, which is, how can SEO help us reach decision makers and key stakeholders in the life sciences sector?
Yes, that's an interesting question that's come over, and really is kind of fundamental reason for why we do SEO, search engine optimization. Because if you're a scientific startup or you're trying to accelerate that business, getting that visibility online, it will make a lot of difference. If you're publishing content, articles, research papers, authority pieces, and it's not easily found online, then that's a really missed opportunity. So what we would do is we would make sure that whatever SEO plan we're putting together fits with the business goals. So that business could be looking for the next round of investment, or it could be launching a product or a service, or it could be wanting to add thought leadership. So really taking those goals into account guides that SEO strategy, so that whatever we create or optimize whatever you've created is going to reach the right people. And alongside that, what we would do is we would look at keyword research. So what's that searcher intent for each of those scenarios? So an investor's searcher intent will probably be different to a lab trying to find some equipment, or a company looking at diagnostic techniques. Those searcher intents are going to be quite different. So again, it's making sure that the SEO plan that you've got, the strategy, will reach all of those people.
I guess it's about knowing.
Sorry, yeah.
And I guess it's about knowing your audience, isn't it, and who you're trying to reach as well. I guess that's really going to be crucial to.
It is, yeah, and it could be several audiences. And that's where you can put together clusters of content, and you can put together clusters of information or content hubs that really speak to each of those audiences. And we do a lot of audience profiling, particularly around the online space. So what websites are those audiences visiting? What social platforms are they on? What are they looking for? That we can make sure that your content appeals to them, resonates with them, is of interest to them, and also that Google can understand the content from a indexing and crawlability as well. So as long as it can index and crawl it, if it matches that searcher's intent, that's the search that they're putting in, then it's got a high likelihood that it's going to start showing up on Google. Yeah.
Okay.
So I hope that helps.
I think it does, and I think it's easy to forget, isn't it, when you're writing content, that all of your content should be as SEO friendly as possible, and that includes your social media content as well. So if you do this initial piece of work with a client, the keyword research, can they then take that keyword research and use it to produce content moving forward? Can they sort of implement that into their content strategy?
Absolutely, yes, yeah. So you're correct there in saying that audiences, social intent, what are they looking for? What phrases are they likely to use? So a researcher might use a different phrase to an investor for the same piece of content. So yes, making sure that it can be found by those. So we will put together a keyword strategy, but that's not necessarily just about the words and phrases. It can be about the topics. So topic clusters, and then from that, our clients can take that set of keywords, those targeted keywords, create their own content, blend it in, use it on social, use it. They can even use it to promote webinars, things like that. So they've got that set of keywords, and then we can track and measure how successful the strategies are going forward, and then we can create content around that for them, or they can definitely create their own content, or if there's a piece of scientific content that we need to optimize, then there are various techniques we can use on that content to make sure that it's found, it's structured, and that it's going to be indexed by Google.
Okay. All right. Brilliant. Thank you.
I hope that helps. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. Okay. We've got another question. So, what SEO strategies are most effective for life science and biotech companies?
Okay. Yeah. So this is more on the strategy side. I think it does tip over a little bit into that first question. So I think a lot of these might have some crossover answers. So I think it's creating blended content. So taking that scientific content, but also having a marketing slant, particularly if it's around commercialization. If it's an early stage company that really does need to drive business, sales, customer engagement, patient interest, then having that blended strategy of the scientific content alongside the marketing approach, their marketing plan, should deliver a more effective approach. But also we need to make sure that we're covering those search terms, and also making sure that any scientific publications has the right structured markup, has the right schema against it, and then it's going to be hopefully indexed correctly by Google. So I think it's that blended approach really. If it's a company that is looking for commercialization, it's not just the science, it's that how it's marketed as well. I hope that answers that question.
Yes, it does. Thanks. So I've got a sort of another question, if that's okay. How do you have some tips for helping people develop content that doesn't sound too kind of keywordy? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you read content and it's clearly just been shoved full of
keyword stuff.
Keywords.
You can over optimize a page.
In order to get successful SEO. Like, do you have any tips for companies who want to implement SEO effectively, but without it looking too fake?
It's a good question, and a good add-on to the one that's come through. You have to think about the reader first. So really take into account who's going to be reading that content, whether if it's from a scientific background, healthcare professional, investor, partner. Think about who's reading it and really target them first. So when we're looking at SEO, we're looking to blend it into that content without it taking over the content. And there are technical things you can do behind the scenes to make sure that it's SEO indexed, so that then wouldn't impact the readability of that page. But there's ways of structuring the content in an order that again can be indexed easily by Google. So what we call semantic markup. So making sure that the headings are in the right place and in the right structure, that lists are semantically tagged. If you've got FAQs, that they've got that structured markup on there. So there are things behind the scenes you can do without really touching the scientific content. But if there's opportunities within the content where we can put keywords in, we will do. But we would always make sure that the science or the information isn't compromised. Make sure that it reads well for whoever's finding that, and then thirdly, make sure that it's optimized for Google. And you can do that without trying to overly stuff or compromise that content. And there are with the life sciences, there are scientific factors that we need to take into account where we can't touch that information. So it has to be correct in terms of the meeting any scientific standards as well. So there are some things that we need to take care of, but we can definitely optimize around that.
Okay, thanks. That's a good tip.
I guess it's the same with social as well, isn't it? Where on the healthcare side of things, you have to take into account those factors around health and medical information, that it's not compromised.
Yeah. And I think with the sort of audiences we're talking about as well, that we can be a bit more flexible with the reading age, because a lot of the time the guidance is to have a lower reading age, isn't it? But I think because of the kinds of people we're targeting, which is typically sort of healthcare professionals, we can
that academic slant.
Mm-hmm. And also websites often have tools within them, don't they? Like plugins that can help you with your SEO. Like, for example, I've got a WordPress website, and there's a few plugins that help with your readability.
They're definitely guides. They help the content to be optimized from a checkbox list point of view. What we try to do is make sure that there's a clear strategy first. Keyword research is done, the audience research is done. We also do competitor website research, making sure we've got a clear plan. And then when we implement it on the website, those tools are there to just add an additional a little bit of information. We're never really a slave to those plugins and tools. They're just a guide.
Yeah.
They're a little bit of a blunt tool sometimes, particularly with life sciences, healthcare is very nuanced. We're very often targeting very specific keywords and phrases, very scientific phrases, medical phrases. So those tools are much more of a kind of a blunt instrument, really, when they're trying to assess it. So we have to take into account the uniqueness of that SEO strategy for scientific content, where some of the meaning of some of those words aren't widely known, but they're very kind of specific to that industry or that set of research. And also the search volumes may not be large, but they're large enough for that very niche area that we're working in.
Yeah.
So those blunt tools are a guide, but we don't use them without having other things in place.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing from you is that it's important to have that strategy in place initially, and to use those tools with a sort of a little bit of a pinch of salt. And again,
they're a good guide. Yeah. I mean, but the best thing to do is not have a scattergun approach where you're coming up with phrases that you think might be appropriate, but there's not really you haven't done any research behind it, or have a clear plan of why you're targeting those and what you expect that intent to be.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Can we move on to the next? Oh, great. Okay. So the next question is, are there any helpful tools that you would recommend for life science organisations to help with SEO? So that's quite good, because we've already sort of just touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, when I started out looking at search optimization and understanding Google's algorithm many years ago, there were very few tools. Then a few pieces of software, SaaS tools, started to come into the market. A lot of them in those early days were free, and they did provide a lot of help and guidance in terms of keyword research, analysing pages, understanding Google's algorithm, which was fantastic. Moving more towards where we are at the moment, some of the best tools are paid for. They might have a little bit of a free element, but a lot of the tools that are going to work well for SEO are paid, so it's worth having a budget for that. And some of the tools can be quite complex as well. But really, if you start off with having Google Analytics on the website, Google Search Console, that will give you a lot of information, and you can use that to help guide the SEO strategy. So the Search Console will tell you the keywords and phrases that Google is currently showing for that website, and that's a great thing to look at, because it might be showing the wrong phrases. It might be showing your content up for the wrong phrases, and that can easily happen if you've written some content and Google's misunderstood the nature of that content, so you can go back and refine it. So that will show you what is currently being your website's currently being presented for. So if somebody puts in a search term, the Google Search Console will show you if Google's shown your page for that search term. So go in there, have a look at that. Are you showing up for the right phrases? Adjust, refine from there, and then Google Analytics will show you who's visiting the website from a very broad overview. So there aren't any specific user details, but you'll get a rough idea of location, how long they're spending on the site, what pages they've clicked on, any events that you're tracking will show up there. So they're both free tools that you can use. Other paid for tools, there's things like SEMrush, will give you a massive amount of data. They do take a little bit of setup. But again, that really digs into search rankings, analyzing content, comparing where you are with your competitors. There's Mars, there's Ahrefs. We use a piece of software called Screaming Frog, which is much more of a technical overview. but there's a whole list. There's ever more SEO tools out there, some good, some not so good. So if anyone wants to reach out, I can definitely provide a list.
Okay.
It's an ever-growing list of SEO tools that are out there,
yeah. Yeah, that would be really useful.
But start off with the free ones, yeah. Google Analytics, Google Search Console. If you haven't already got those set up, then add them, and it will really start to give you a lot of insight.
Yeah. We always advise our clients to have as a minimum Google Analytics.
Yeah, even if when you're starting out, it might not be a high priority, but if you've got a website that you've launched, even if it's a single page or a few pages, I would definitely add it. It's free to use. Add it to your website, and then as your business grows and things change, that data is going to be really valuable.
Yeah,
because it'll give you a benchmark going forward. We do work on projects where it could be quite an old website, say 10, 15 years, and it's never had any analytics on it other than those that are on the hosting. And really, it's a missed opportunity of data that we haven't got that would have been really useful to help define the strategy going forward.
Yeah, and of course, Google Analytics can give you information about your social media activity as well and how successful that's being. So, it's definitely worth having. Can I just ask what are your thoughts on AI and SEO? Do can we use like ChatGPT, for example, to help us with our SEO?
You can to a certain extent. Again, use it as a research tool. So never use anything what I call out of the box that it produces. Use it as research. I mean, some of the AI tools are now acting as search engines. So there are things you can do to help you appear on that, particularly in the scientific space. Google does have these AI-powered summaries now on the search results page. That's why it's ever more challenging to get results shown above the fold, because there's so many other things that Google's putting on.
Yeah.
So those AI-powered summaries, you can have a strategy to aim to be part of that, particularly on the scientific side. So it's making sure that your content is authoritative, educational, well-structured, so that Google can index it, has a lot of kind of relevant links. So if you can get something peer-reviewed, there might be cross-links there. So Google's trying to deliver that AI overview, that summary, to provide the most helpful content. Particularly if it's scientific and medical, it has to be authoritative, research-backed, and then Google, is more likely to show that in that AI result. But in terms of creating content with AI, it's another tool. So a lot of it, you'll find, going back to the previous question about SEO tools, a lot of them now have an AI element or an AI product in there, which aids that process of keyword research, targeting, analyzing pages. Again, it's a bit of a blunt tool. I'm sure it's going to get refined as it moves on. So to us, it's another tool in our toolkit to help the websites that we create get found. Yeah, so it's another part of our strategy in terms of trying to cover all those bases. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, it's similar for us using generative AI for creating social media content. It's good with the ideas, but it definitely needs it's a blunt tool, as you said. It definitely needs refinement afterwards, and a lot of the information is proprietary to the company anyway, so ChatGPT is not going to help you in that regard. But
you've got to know what you're doing and how to use it. So I see it as something similar to, say if somebody's got Photoshop, just having that tool doesn't mean to say you're an expert photo retoucher, or can create amazing things in Photoshop. It's just a tool. You have to kind of know what you're doing and have knowledge about the process and the end results in order to deliver something that looks fantastic.
Yeah. We could probably talk about AI all day, so I'm going to ask for the next question, I think. How can SEO help us attract highly targeted traffic from life science researchers, biotech investors, and healthcare professionals? Well, that's quite a big question.
That is a big question. Yeah. Okay, so trying to break that down a little bit then. Targeted traffic again goes back to the things that we've already mentioned in terms of looking at each of those audiences in isolation. So a scientific researcher is going to be looking for or interested in a certain set of topics and information, whereas an investor is going to be looking for a different set of information. They're all going to be slightly related, but they'll have different intent. And then a healthcare professional as well could have a different intent. So some of the SEO tools will guide you on that intent. So commercial intent, educational, research, those search terms are going to have a different outcome. So it's making sure as well that your content covers all of that journey. So a scientific researcher might have a search term when they're looking to find out some information about a product or service. But then further down the line, that same researcher might then have a different search term that's got much more of a commercial intent. So they're looking to buy something. So I want to make sure we've got content on the website that covers an educational phase. So they're learning about what you do and what you deliver, right through to that final decision. How do we then just help them, nudge them along to make that decision to buy or to talk to us about buying that product or service. So having content around that buying journey, or that search journey, and then things around making sure that it's technically optimized, has some commercial search terms as well. So alongside the scientific and medical search terms, look at those commercial search terms and that search intent. So I think you're looking at the whole kind of value chain, really. So again, investors, once they're, if they're looking to invest in the company, they want to see how commercially viable it is. So again, if that company is getting interest on a commercial level, that's going to help on the investor side.
Yeah, and I think it goes back again, doesn't it, to knowing your audience, and also having a good content strategy in place. Because if you're producing content that's speaking to all of these individuals, you'll be attracting them in different ways, won't you? And you'll be targeting them.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the websites that we refresh and redesign, we're moving it away from perhaps the content being quite inward looking. The company's talking about itself, what they do from their point of view. It could even include phrases and terms that they use internally, whereas we really want to kind of flip that and make it more relevant to the visitor, who's trying to find out about the company, who doesn't know them, who doesn't know those that could be quite niche terms that they're referring to. So yeah, it's flipping the intent of the website almost from it being about the company to what can that company do for that visitor. There's a bit about that as well, flipping it so that it's visitor focused.
Yeah, I mean, you have to consider what someone is going to be interested in and what your audience are going to want to read about, don't you, as well? And I think that's key. I think a lot of businesses forget that. They, like you said, they focus on themselves and what they already know. The audience is not necessarily going to know those things.
Yeah, and it's putting that problem that they solve front and centre. You've got seconds, particularly on the home page or the landing page, seconds to grab someone's attention. If they found you on search, which is fantastic, that's what we always want to achieve, then when they land on the website, when they've clicked through and it's not clear what you do or how you help them or the benefits that you give or what you're providing, then they're likely to click away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you're going back to the search results, then you've got that pogo sticking of jumping from the search to click. And then Google does analyze that. So if people are clicking through and it's not what they're looking for, there's some disparity between the search result and the actual content on the website. That's a bit of a negative as well. So Google will then stop showing that, showing your page.
Penalize for that. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, thank you. Can we have the next question? What keywords are our competitors ranking for, and how can we outperform them?
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's, again, quite a deep topic. Good question, though. So, again, in the nuances and niches of life sciences, sometimes there's very few competitors, or if it's a piece of innovation, research, diagnostics, something that's very new, it might not have any competitors. Or there might be companies operating in similar fields. So it's taking that into account, really. You need to take into account, how long have they been around? How big is their website? What is their website content? Those SEO tools that I mentioned, they can provide analysis on the competitor's website, from an overview of what that website's about to right down to what keywords it's ranking for, if it's used in paid search, analyzing the content that it's got. So those tools will help with that, and you can also just look at the website yourself and kind of read through and get an idea of who they're trying to reach as well. So do study competitors' websites and see how they're presenting themselves, what tone of voice have they got. And really it's making sure that you're different, you have that difference. And then understanding, in terms of the outperform area, how difficult or easy is it going to be to outrank them? What effort is involved? Are there any broader keywords that you could target that might be easier to show up for? So yeah, understanding what they're showing up for in terms of search results and how that aligns with what you're trying to do. We're not trying to copy what they're doing, but we're trying to see how you position alongside them. So if you have direct competitors, what's your unique selling point? Why would somebody go to you rather than them? And then making sure that is visible, front of center, SEO optimized, so that they can see that search, that difference. And then making sure that the meta titles, meta descriptions that are on the search results really show your unique proposition. And then that hopefully then that aligns with the audiences. They click, you get more clicks than your competitors, then it starts to help you move up the rankings. And just putting your information front and center, making sure that it's at least as optimized as theirs, and then if not optimized further around whatever your unique proposition is.
You mentioned that a lot of companies are innovative and quite niche. Is that a challenge then to find adequate keywords for them to sort of use SEO effectively if they're too niche a company?
It can be, yeah, absolutely. And some of the things that we work on, some of the projects we work on are incredibly specialized. Reaching those audiences is incredibly challenging. That's where the specialist nature of what we do comes into play. If you go to a generalist SEO marketing company, they don't understand those nuances. We've been working on this for 16 plus years, and you learn a lot. You learn a lot about what works, what doesn't. So a lot of our content that we create would be educational. So if there aren't many search results for the very niche phrases and words that they use, then we'll create educational content so that we can talk about what that product or service does. So you've got an opportunity there to have words and phrases around that. It's almost like topic based. So if it's a piece of diagnostics, say for neuroscience, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, we can talk about those wider subjects and educate people about that particular innovation around that. So that's what we do in terms of those very niche terms. It does take somebody that knows what they're doing, seasoned hand, as I call it. There are some, you've got to be very careful with those techniques, and be a bit clever about it.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess I know that you do quite a bit of strategy work in the beginning with clients, and I guess that's really sort of fundamental to helping you to understand the business as well, so that you can, provide the correct.
Yeah. I mean, strategy is important, but we don't let it overtake what we're doing. So if we're refreshing a website, there might be some quick wins. We can quickly go and have a look at a website and look at the technical side of things, fix any things quickly. And that could create some immediate results. So technical fixes, just a clarity of messaging. Again, that can be quite fast to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop us creating an overall strategy, but we're always looking for those quick wins. We don't want to spend, a large amount of time coming up with a plan and then rolling that out. If there's any quick wins we can do, we'll do it. And then build on that, really, because very often there are things to fix, and they can have massive results.
Yeah, quite quickly. Yeah. Okay, next question, please. How can SEO help amplify our thought leadership content, such as white papers, webinars, and research publications?
Okay, that's quite specific. So leadership content, I'm just having to think. So I think it's focusing on making sure that they have the right metadata, structured headings, semantic markup, so that the actual content itself is still kept in place, but behind the scenes this is the technical SEO side of things. So making sure that the schema markup is around that. So schema around abstracts, educational content, articles, making sure that's all in place, and making sure it's semantically structured correctly, has external and internal links. So if you can link out to peer reviews, abstracts, things like that might be on quite authoritative websites, that's going to help. So fundamentals of making sure it's correctly structured, making sure it's findable, internal linking, external linking, I think are kind of key points. Yeah.
Okay, and they sound all quite straightforward things to implement.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing. Yeah. And it's making sure that it's done on every piece of content.
Yeah.
We call it missed opportunities. So there might be a fantastic piece of research, a fantastic webinar, but if it's not findable, if people don't know it's there,
no point having it.
Yeah. And, social is fantastic for promoting those things, but there's also, if it's findable and marked up correctly, it could show up in the AI tools, as well as showing up on kind of Google, Bing, and those different search engines.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to remember. So even if you are sharing this content on social, often, like LinkedIn, for example, doesn't prioritize content with external links. So, it's important to be able to find the content off of social media as well, because the reach on social is going to be limited with this external content.
Yeah, I mean, it's important in terms of building the brand and having a what we call multi-channel. So if you've spent time and expertise putting together a white paper, a webinar,
I mean, all of those
piece of research, you want it to have the widest reach. You don't want it to be hidden. So those multiple channels, we call it, are really going to help. SEO is important in that. And I'm sure whatever keywords you can attach to that could be used in social media.
Yeah.
Email marketing, YouTube. You could create a version of that webinar on YouTube, make sure that's optimized, but also focus on that set of keywords in the description, in the in the title, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and SEO's just as important on social media, especially like with LinkedIn now. Hashtags have become less important and keywords more important. So it's important to remember that as well with the strategy. I think people often just think of SEO and think of sort of web content, don't they? But it
has a lot. It can do a lot. Yeah. So if you've got a strategy where you look and you've done your audience profiling, so you know who they are, where they're likely to be, what sort of things are they looking for, what peer groups have they got, and then having those words, phrases, topics. It's not just for SEO; it could be for all of your digital marketing. Yeah, absolutely. Refining the website, but also refining social, refining other types of online content.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, next question, please. What types of content should we create to rank for high intent searches from life science professionals?
That's a good one. Well, it's defining that intent. So a high intent, what are you defining as high intent? Is it a commercial basis? Is it somebody that is looking to partner with you to support your scientific innovation? So what's that intent? And making sure again that you have content that's relevant for that. So it could be case studies, it could be FAQ sections, again, scientific articles, educational pieces. But you've got to define that intent in the first place. So who are you targeting? What is that intent? So I think defining what high intent means for your particular business, your business goals. Writing pieces that are around that, and also making sure. I mean, we talk a lot about kind of creating new content and adding that content, which is important because Google does like new content, but it will take several weeks to get indexed. And making sure it is indexed is an important step as well. So not just publishing content and waiting, submitting it through the Search Console will help, although it doesn't necessarily prioritize, but it does let Google know that there's new content there. But refining your current content, so going back over past articles and adjusting them for those high intent searches. And things can change over time. Businesses evolve, what people are searching for evolves, and just making sure your older content is updated. That can have a big big impact in SEO results. Going back and refreshing old content, but also your core pages, your home page, your product pages, your service pages, going in and refining those. So it's not really a set and forget. Go in and adjust.
And that can have quite a big impact.
Absolutely, refreshing that long-standing existing content can have a big impact because you've already got it, but it might just need adjusting a little bit, for kind of like the latest things that people are searching for.
Yeah, and I guess you could also sort of reformat the content as well, couldn't you? That you've already got out there, turn it into video or turn it into a sort of a case study or something like that.
So that's where Google Analytics Search Console come into play. So that will show you content that is already getting a lot of traffic, and you can build on that by creating that content in different formats. So you know that it's working, so build on that. But Analytics and the Search Console will also tell you what pages aren't performing. And you can go and review those, look to improve them. Or you might even think, actually, we want to take that off. It could be detrimental, but make sure you've got some 301 redirects in place. But so kind of reviewing what's working and what isn't on the site before adding that new content to it can have a big impact. Yeah, use Google Analytics, use the Search Console to see what's working and what isn't. Yeah.
And in what way could it be detrimental? Could some content be detrimental?
It could be that it's you've got several pieces of content that might be targeting the same keyword, so that can reduce the impact of all of the articles. So it could be that there's some conflicts there in terms of what Google's likely to rank. It doesn't know which one to rank first. And also it could be content that, particularly in the scientific space where things are fast moving, that it's it's out of date. Yeah. It's no longer relevant. So having a bit of a tidy up of really old content can have a big impact.
Okay, that's good to know. So we've got about 9 minutes remaining, so we've probably got time for 2 more questions, I would say. So if we could have the next question. Are there any technical issues such as slow page speed or broken links that might be hurting our SEO performance?
Yes, that's a kind of behind the scenes thing to do with SEO. And I think that crosses over to those quick wins I was talking about earlier, where, yes, a plan of attack and a strategy is important, but there might be some quick wins and they can be technical fixes. The Search Console will tell you some pages that aren't being indexed, so you can have a look at that. It could be that they're not being crawled or indexed at all, and that's a technical thing that can be fixed. Some of the SEO tools that I talked about, particularly what we use Screaming Frog, that flags technical issues. Most of the paid for SEO tools will also flag things that can be fixed. Some of those can be quick wins, others might be a little bit more technical to fix, but still worth looking at. Page speed is a slightly different area. So from our point of view, page speed, the first thing to look at really is your website hosting. Absolutely. So if you're on shared hosting and it's a low cost hosting, you could be on a server with thousands and thousands of other websites. If they suddenly have an influx of traffic, it can affect your site, slow your site down. That server resources are being used by somebody else. So we would always recommend having really good quality website hosting where there's load balancing, CDNs, content delivery networks, to really help speed that up. So that would always be our first point. And then, we'd look at the content on the website, make sure it's optimized, make sure those images aren't too large, they're optimized as well. And anything we can do really to kind of, speed up that site. Broken links, definitely fix those. There are some free tools. If you just search in Google for broken link checker, that will flag any broken links. Very often that's external links. So you might have linked out to a third-party website and they've taken the page down, or that site's no longer there. So again, you can go and fix those. That's quite a quick win as well, fixing those broken links. They could also be internal links that are broken as well. So you might have moved a page or renamed a page and it's not quite picked that up. It's not been 301 directed properly. That'd be a quick win as well. So fixing all those things will definitely help your SEO performance. And it can be it's something that you need to review on a regular basis, at least a couple of times a year. Go and check the website for anything technical that needs adjusting. It's not really a set and forget. You've got to keep going over it and just checking that everything's okay. And if you've got teams creating content as well, they might miss something and it might flag as a technical issue. So check it regularly.
Yeah, I think that's key, isn't it? And that's something I certainly forget to do. Once you've done your website, it's remembering to sort of keep reviewing it and making sure it's
these days with the pace of change and the ever more competitive space, the websites aren't set and forget. You have to keep working on them, refining them, updating them, adding information, really make that the go-to place online for that particular niche, so that people can see that it's up to date, that you're adding to the knowledge of that particular industry, that particular piece of research or diagnostics. That you're the place to go, really. So that's from a content point of view, and also from a technical point of view. It's not great going to a website and you click on something and it just goes to a 404 page. The website's got to be loved and taken care of, and then it will reap benefits for the business.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We've got time for one last question, I think. So, okay, this one will have to be quite quick.
Okay.
How do we optimize for Google's featured snippets or knowledge panels for scientific queries?
Again, a great end question. So this links to what we were talking about before with your question, Lisa, about AI. And that kind of the knowledge panel, or that AI snippet of information. It goes back to having the content correctly structured, semantic markup, schema markup, just making sure that it's technically, from an SEO point of view, correct, that it's educational, peer-reviewed, expertise, expert commentary, that it's scientifically correct, medically compliant. That search snippet, that bit of information that Google's trying to give that searcher, it needs to make sure that it's trustworthy. It's that what they call EEAT content, expertise, experience, expertise, authority, and trust. If you're ticking all of those boxes, you're much more likely to show up there. And if you've got something unique, original, informative, then that's what Google's looking for.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. I think that's a good way to stop the Q&A.
Yeah. I mean, it's a vast topic. So if I had 8 hours, I could still keep talking about it, let alone an hour.
Well, thank you. I think it's been valuable for me. I hope it's been valuable for the audience. Certainly answered some of my SEO questions. So thanks for your time, Belinda. So I just wanted to say that next month we'll be talking about Be Better at Business, the B Corporation journey. So that's going to be delivered by one of our partner companies, and that will be on the 26th of March at noon. In the meantime, if you have any questions on this presentation or anything else we've discussed today, feel free to email at hello@socialelements.co.uk, or you can visit our website, or you can contact us on LinkedIn. And of course, you can also reach out to Belinda if necessary. The recording will be available after the session, so in case you missed today or you want to share with colleagues, then feel free. Thanks once again for joining, and thank you to Belinda. Thanks.